back. Hello. Welcome. I'm a little older now. I'm also going on a little trip over the next couple of days. I recently celebrated my 25th birthday, which is really scary, but also kind of nice. With birthdays and yearly sort of events, I always thought that they had a little bit of meaning, not just because I'm here, I'm born, I'm special, but more so because it's a great time to check in with yourself and see how you've been going since the last time that event happened. And I do have the benefit of having my birthday at the end of the year, which also kind of ties in nicely. Self-reflecting, wrapping things up kind of exercises. I am going to take you all along with me while I crash with a bunch of friends and get up to some nice naturey things. I'm also going to take this opportunity to do like a self-reflection time capsule thing. Also to take apart everything that happened. I guess it can be really overwhelming when we don't really know how to look at the different aspects of our lives. Us as people just figure out how we can move forward and continue existing without crashing and burning while wondering why we haven't achieved anything in our mid-20s. Anyways, let's pack! I wonder if I can do this with one hand. And now that that's out of the way, it's time to do the real packing. Unpack my life. I want to break down the different bits and bobs of my life. The main bits that I think I need to work on, which is everything. People, friends and family, and overall social stuff. I feel like as an introvert, I have to be a lot more careful and a lot more conscious because I do get pretty drained, and I'm sure a lot of you do too. We're a little different from extroverts that sort of get energy from interacting with people and being social. Can't relate. The second thing I'd probably look at would be work/professional sort of career-y things. Jumping off of the work stuff, I think finance would be a good thing to look at too, followed by, oh, these are big ones. I feel like for the self, i.e. me, or if you choose to tag along and do this, you, I would break this down into the physical and the internal self. The physical bit is pretty self-explanatory, like fitnessy goals or health sort of related things. Internal stuff is kind of where I think I've been neglecting for most of 2021. Things like sexuality, creativity, spirituality. So those sort of things I think will be the bulk of my shortcomings. It's a lot of stuff to unpack, and I'm not gonna set that expectation for myself to unpack it all. But we're gonna try and we're gonna see what we come up with after detaching ourselves from clumsiness. We'll see how this plays out. Oh.
And over the back.
Hello! Ruben told me it's his new dog.
Take pics of hips.
Hey friends, just got in. Can you see me? Can you see me? Yeah. We are just chilling out for a while, but I wanted to chat a little bit about how I've been going with family and friends over the last couple of months. I think as someone who is quite an introvert, it does get quite hard to manage social interactions and obligations while being able to be fully present with the people around me. I tend to dissociate quite a fair bit with interactions, especially when I am tired or when I'm feeling on the verge of being burnt out. It's not really fair to the people around you if you're not 100% there. It's not really fair to yourself either. It doesn't do anyone good. I think if we were all just a little bit more clear with our boundaries and be more self-aware of what helps us feel better, both in a mental and physical sense of the word, it can mean a lot of good things for the people around us. I do make it a point to block off time, like non-negotiable time for family and friends, because it is important to make the effort. Otherwise, if we just rely on convenience all the time, it is difficult to actively put in that effort to nurture the different relationships around us. It can be really scary too, thinking about how things would change, the people around you would change, the people you ground yourself in, who ground themselves in you too will change. It's not just what's awaiting you, but also in a way the kind of tracks that you leave behind that I want to be very mindful about. Oh my goodness! Hello! Hello! Hi! Oh! Hello! Another thing I wanted to mull over was work and how that was all going to play out in front of me. My educational background was in the veterinary sciences, and for a good portion of my younger years I was working in the animal sort of healthcare industry. It kind of left a weird taste in my mouth in the past. I wasn't really able to reconcile the act of making my passion my work. When I was going through my formal education, it felt a lot like animals were the extracurricular thing that I enjoyed, but once that became my work, that became my 9 to 5, well, in a way it wasn't of my own volition anymore. And I think that sort of changed the dynamic, the relationship I had to the work. I have done quite a bit of internal reflection and healing, and I do think it is something that I want to come back to, especially when it comes to working with animals and dealing with the environmental sciences. These are things that are pretty important to me, and why I sort of believe in productivity and self-development, so that you can make room for all these other things and really be present in the pursuits that you really want to invest in. I think that in the coming months it may be time for me to revisit this stuff again, maybe start working with animals again, because yeah, this stuff makes me really happy. And with the difference between work and labour, there is quite a bit. With labour, it does feel a lot more, it does get a lot more tedious and a lot more of a drag. Not to say that work that fulfills us doesn't grind to a halt sometimes, but the nature of labour being the thing that you'd have to do, the things you'd have to do in order to pay the bill, the adulting stuff, is very different from the nature of work, which would gravitate a lot more towards things that fulfill you, or things that serve the people around you, or serve the things that you believe in. For the longest time, I sort of meshed the two together. As someone that really values financial freedom, that was a lesson that took a while for me to understand, and I'm really glad that I'm taking that going forward. Not to say that labor's bad, there is time and place for all that stuff. There is value in labor, and there is value in the physical sort of services they can give to the world. But there is also so much more in terms of the work you can create, the work that you can do and leave behind for the people around you. I think that bleeds into the finance stuff that I know I have to look out for and be mindful of. I'm sure a lot of us do not want to be controlled or limited or feel limited by our finances, but that requires a lot of know-how going forward in terms of our planning, understanding the different costs and the different allowances that we have to account for whenever we choose to make long or short-term investments. I do feel like I am lacking a lot in terms of the financial education front of things. I do have a basic understanding of how it all works in terms of the economy and how I sort of can manage my assets, but learning and expanding my knowledge on the topic is going to be so important and take a lot more initiative when it comes to. That's probably something I would take a lot more initiative to learn about, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think this is time and a place for that. As some of you may or may not know, I spent most of this year in prep for a competition, a bodybuilding bikini competition that didn't get to happen because of something that's been causing everything else to not happen. More than anything, I feel like it brought me into my body. It made me really present with my physical self, showing up pretty much to the gym 6-7 days a week, and that was great. It served its purpose. I took so many lessons from it. I'm not gonna lie though, there was a point where I was very close to being burnt out. I guess it's quite normal to arrive at a limit for these things. It was a lot, and it was really overwhelming, and a part of me feels like even though I did have a support system going into it, it wasn't necessarily fleshed out enough, and you can only go so far yourself. I would definitely want to chill out at maintenance, maybe go into a bit of a surplus with my fitness and make some solid strength gains. Competing is something that I do want to pursue in the future. The thing is, after my first prep, I wasn't super happy with the amount of muscle mass that I actually have underneath all this love, which isn't a bad thing. These things take a really long time to build up to anyway. I don't want to rush into anything. I also made plans to compete in early 2021 because I knew that 2022 was going to be a really big career driven year for me, where I have a bunch of other things that I want to keep up with and pursue, potentially reap more benefits on other fronts that I've been neglecting because of prep, which is why I am grateful for the support that I have. And I do think that it is really important to give back to the people that you know are there for you, and also to give back to the other parts of your life. Very much rather spend the early half of 2022 building on other things like my career and my personal relationships. I lost touch with my spirituality for a very significant portion of the time. Without sounding too airy-fairy about everything, I am a big believer in energies and what we put out into the world coming back and being a reflection of ourselves. I think there is so much value in being able to tune into yourself. I don't know if this is a good phase for me to do that. Maybe it would be a good time for me to learn more things on the financial and also the spiritual front, and maybe they'll balance each other out.